Right folks, this is a Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. I've got a minor update for you here right now. I received the fasteners I've been waiting for this morning. I've got M3 by 25 cap screws and M3 by, I think it was 35 or 40 mil cap screws. I think it was 25 for each with 50 nuts and 50 washers. Might have been 50 or each with 100 nuts and 100 washers, but I can't mind. Yeah. So, I'm starting to put things together now. As you can see here, I've got the bearing installed on the. Well, there's one bearing in the top, and then there's another bearing here. You'll see them at the back better actually. There's a bearing at the back and another bearing at the bottom here, top and bottom, and it's just pinched together with these small cap screws. So the whole carriage then is now runs on these rails, as you can see. I'll demonstrate that for you right now. It's not adjusted correctly yet, but that's basically how it moves. It seems, it moves relatively free, so I'm reasonably happy with that. As you can see here, this a hexagonal, I don't know what you'd call it, recess lines up with the drive of the motor, and same on this side. I'll come back to that later. In the middle here now we have the carriage for the extruder. Now the carriage simply slides back and forth here, yeah. So that's now installed and operating. I haven't pinched the bearings up yet. Because I'm short of two of them. I've only got a bearing on this back corner and then this front corner. These two are missing at the moment. I'm short of two in my stock, so I need to get two new ones ordered up. What else? I've had a look at this motor, mounting this motor here now, and one of the things I overlooked was that where the cap screws mount, there's actually a recess there. Yeah. Now the thread depth on these holes on the motor is approximately 6 millimeter. Now the bracket is 10 millimeter thick, so you've only got about 7 millimeter there after the recess, and then from the bottom of the head of the cap screw. So you need an about 12 millimeter length cap screw there to secure that motor to that bracket. My plan was to just cut the 25mm brackets, but as you can see, they don't come fully threaded to the top. So I'd maybe get a mil or two of thread, but I'm not going to mess around with this. It's going to require a lot of fiddly work cutting these cap screws. So I've ordered up yet another bag of cap screws that are of the required length. So that's going to delay the mounting of this motor and the subsequent installation of the belt pulley to the base plate. I've had another thought regarding the mounting of the base plate to these brackets. Some people just glue them on, but what I intend on doing is drilling holes for countersunk cap screws. So the cap screws will go through from the top here, and then the nuts will retain the cap screws from the underside, and that will mean I'll have to drill the plate and countersunk the plate to take the cap screw. I think I'll get a better finish, a better look. Ultimately, this board will likely get replaced because I don't like the aesthetic of it, with the rough wooden finish. But in fact, this whole build will get replaced because a lot of it is just jury rigged, and the finish is quite poor in places. I might salvage some of the components from this rig to feed my second rig, or I might just sell it in total if somebody's willing to buy it, and use the finances from that to then build a second rig. Excuse me. But that will be next year now. I'm not even thinking about that yet. Well, I am, but it's whether or not I do or not remains to be seen. So that's a small amount of progress, really. I thought I was going to get on faster, but now I'm needing these shorter cap screws. That's going to delay me slightly, or somewhat. So I've paused the build on the actual main frame for the moment. I say paused it. I've shifted my attention over to the extruder itself, which will mount on here. Now I'll just demonstrate the extruder body. This here is what they call the extruder body. It's just a printed part, and you can see it's a relatively complex part. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but that's this shiny side, yeah. That side was the one that was originally printed on the heated glass plate, and then the rest of the model was built up from the underside upwards. So I haven't actually looked at these yet, but I've started looking at it this afternoon. Excuse me. So basically what we have here is we have two bearings which mount in there. Now you can see the fit, that's a really poor fit, but I might be able to do something with that. I don't know if the other side's any better. It's a tighter fit somewhat. You got to push it into place. It's quite secure. There's no play in it. So then that goes in there like so. Now by the instructions, a bolt then passes through that, I believe. Now your motor mounts here in that orientation. Okay, so that's the motor that drives your filament. So then, with that motor installed in place and a small gear mounted on the end of the shaft of the motor, that then is in turn driven by, or drives, this wheel. So this is a hobbed bolt. I don't know how it's been done, but they've got small, I don't know how, splines I suppose is the right word, on this radiused surface which has been carved out of the side of the bolt. Now what that does is basically provide an added element of friction to help drive the filament wire down through the small hole that you can see down here at the base. Now underneath you there will be a heated element, right, which then melts the wire. But this is what provides the driving force for the wire. and that will be driven by this large gear. Now, in fact, I think that must go around the other way, yeah? This bolt is supposed to pass through that. In fact, does it? Maybe it does. One second, folks, let's just check this. It sort of screws into it, but it doesn't actually pass through it. So I'll actually, what I'll do is I'll widen the hole on this slightly, so that it will freely slide through the gear. Now, once that's done, that will be recessed. Then the bolt head will be recessed in the top of the gear, like so, with the shaft coming out this end. The shaft then passes through these two bearing supports, and I think the plan is that the geared or the hobbed part of the bolt then is in line with your filament that comes down from above. The other thing is that a roller is mounted underneath here. I'll take this part away for the moment. A roller mounts in here, and it is lifted up, or hinges in place up and secured via two screws, which will then pass through this channel into this hole at the back. I don't know if the camera's picking it up. There's a hole there, look. So two retaining screws hold this bracket in place. Now this is only one of the catch plates, or whatever you want to call it, roller brackets, and as you can see, this end here has received some damage. It's all melted and chewed up. You know, it looks pretty rough. However, having said that, the chap I got the plastics from, he gave me a few different ones. I think this red assembly was all printed on one batch. It all seems to be the same sort of quality, which is, well, Prusa average, let's say. And then I've got a yellow body as well, extruder body. Sorry, which way? It goes that way, yeah. With a yellow gear, yeah. So I think that those two items were possibly produced. No, in fact, no. I'm telling a fib. They're obviously made from different materials. This body is more luminescent than this sort of plain yellow. However, that aside, that's not important. So I've got a couple of bodies that I can look at to see which have been manufactured to a higher standard. They look much as such, to be honest with you, but there might be issues here where the bearings fit a little bit tighter than the other or whatever. The gears, this gear is not particularly good. I don't know if you can see the top of the gear teeth. You can see how uneven the top of the gear teeth are there. It really is pretty poor, you know. You can see the ridges and the peaks. So I'm really not happy with that. Hold on. The gear teeth, well, you know, I wouldn't call that gear teeth myself. You know, I'm a machinist by trade, and I've actually machined gears in the past for a living. You know, and gears are precision parts, And this, you know, I think this is just a frisbee, you know, this is a piece of shit, but it might do until I get a decent one made myself, yeah. Now, the yellow one, if anything, it's worse. The tops of the, you know, look at the state of that up there. That's just complete crap. But again, it might fulfill its function for a period. I'll have a look at both of them. I'll maybe try to dress them slightly or somewhat, see if they are salvageable or not. I'll certainly be able to, I think, utilise them for a period and possibly get a couple of new ones printed out myself when I get the machine running. So I've also got a couple of these brackets for holding the roller, which I showed you earlier, the black roller there. But I've got a grey one too, which they've altered the design and given you a sort of a finger latch so that you can open it and close it relatively easily. So I'll possibly use one of these grey ones. They seem to be of a slightly better print quality than either the red or the black. Well, the black one has possibly been alright in its original condition, but it's all melted and chowed. This bit here is basically a guide for your filament, and the heat has built up and melted the guide, so it's salvageable, I guess. It'd probably be usable, but it's just time again, and I don't want to waste any more time on this than I have to. So I'll use one of these grey ones, I think, and that will entail then removal of this small roller or bearing. Now there's just a little bit of steel rod in there. I'll it's not a very good fit on the roller. The roller actually is, you know, it rolls freely. The roller, you know, it does that, but it's also quite, I don't know how to. It's not a very tight fit on the shaft. The only thing that's preventing that from moving back and forth quite significantly is the plastic on either side. You know, it's very loose. You know, you can hear it. So I'll maybe try and improve upon that. And when that is assembled, that just helps keep the pressure on the filament, pushing the filament against the hob bolt, which is then being driven by your large gear, which in turn has been driven by the motor, and that's how the whole apparatus feeds the filament through the extruder. And then ultimately the filament is this mounts on the bottom side of your extruder, and the extruder mounts on the carriage, the purple carriage, which I showed you earlier on the printer body itself, and then this mounts underneath it. It's a heated element. There's a resistor in this aluminium block, and that melts the plastic or extrudes the plastic in its molten form onto your surface. So that's where I'm at the moment. It's 19 minutes are in already. I don't know where the time goes to. I've got a lot to do yet. I've started looking at the extruder mechanism. See what parts I'm missing or still required for that. And yeah, I'm going to go and work on these gears, see if I can improve upon them slightly. Certainly I'll need to drill them out so that the hob bolt will actually pass through it. And yeah, hope you've found it interesting, and see you soon. Bye for now.